right, the meeting will now come to order. Welcome to the August 3rd, 2023 meeting of the City of Raleigh Appearance Commission. My name is Will Gaskins, and I am the Vice Chair of the Commission. The Raleigh Appearance Commission is a public body appointed by the City Council that exercises both advisory and quasi-judicial functions. The Appearance Commission's responsibilities relate to zoning and other land use matters, as well as the visual quality and aesthetic characteristics of the city. Today's agenda includes requests for design alternates from the city's Unified Development Ordinance. When hearing requests for design alternates, the Appearance Commission sits as a quasi-judicial body and conducts an evidentiary hearing on the request. That means it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this commission must make its decisions. The commission's decisions are constrained by the standards in the city's ordinance and the facts presented at the hearing. The commission hears and considers evidence presented at the hearing and applies the standards set forth in state law and the city's ordinance. The commission must base its decisions upon competent material and substantial evidence presented at the hearing. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. This meeting is open to the public and everyone is welcome to watch. However, participation in the evidentiary hearings is limited. Parties have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Witnesses may testify as to facts to which they are competent to testify, so long as those facts relate to the legal standards. In addition, lay or non-expert witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, the commission needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts on traffic safety. Okay, it is my understanding that DA 9/2023 has been withdrawn. Is that correct?
Yes, I actually have the case number wrong on there. It's DA 10/2023.
Okay, DA 10/2023.
But yes, the applicant notified us today that they have withdrawn their design alternate application, so we'll not be hearing their case tonight.
Okay. Well, then we will now conduct the evidentiary hearings on today's agenda. And we will open the evidentiary hearing for item DA 8/2023. And Casey Evans will now introduce the hearing.
Want to swear me in?
Yes. All right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great.
Thanks. All right, so this case was continued from the July 6th Appearance Commission, so I'll run through the information I went over last time and then turn it over to the applicant for their updated presentation. So the subject property is located at 8401 Falls of Noose Road. The property is zoned commercial mixed use, 3 stories with the parking limited frontage, and it's also in the Falls Watershed Protection Overlay District. The applicant is proposing to construct a new general building to be used as a car wash. The applicant is requesting a design alternate to reduce the build-to provided along Falls of Noose Road. On this slide, this is the design that was presented at last month's meeting, and then the applicant will present their updated design in a few moments. The build-to is the area where a certain amount of building facade is located along a street. In the parking limited frontage, the build-to range is between 5 feet and 100 feet from the right-of-way, within which building facade must comprise at least 50% of the frontage width. And here are the 3 findings that have to be satisfied in order to grant a design alternate for build-to. I'm available if you have any questions, and I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you. The applicant will now present evidence and legal arguments in support of the request. As a reminder, any evidence and argument must focus on the applicable standards. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Johnson. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Williams Mullen at 301 Fayetteville Street, Suite 1700 here in Raleigh. As Casey said, this was before the commission last month, and we heard the comments from the commission with respect to changing the plan. Initially, we had it as we basically had what we call wing walls on either side. The commission indicated they would rather see more landscaping, particularly with respect to facing the building on the left-hand side, and to make some adjustments to kind of step the walls on the right-hand side and overall add additional landscaping, which we've done. What I'd like to do is have Tony Chilton, the design architect, go through the changes we made, and then I'll summarize, and we'll both be available for any questions you may have. So Tony, why don't you come up and be sworn and present the revisions?
If you would state your name, address, in relation to the case.
Okay, Tony Chilton, 101 West Lebanon Street, Suite 102, Mount Airy, North Carolina 27030. And I am the architect on the project.
Great. And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Go ahead.
Okay. So what we have done with the layout, with the 70-foot, that approximately 70 on the 140 property width, is we've taken the wall off on the left-hand side, and we've moved a vacuum producer, which is required as part of the program to satisfy the 9 spaces there that are vacuums, and moved it to the front, which has an enclosure. And that enclosure is a shorter height, 8 foot, but it is a wall that's required as part of the program. And then that becomes a backdrop for some of the vegetation that we've put in its place. Then over on the right-hand side, we have stepped the wall back, and we've also stepped it in 3 dimensions. We did a step and then another step, and then we also stepped it down to create more 3-dimensional approach to the wall and make the modular units more in keeping with the width of the original building, which is 20 feet plus the 6-foot wing. So we've grouped it in smaller stacks and put returns on it to help and wing it back to help keep it from being one longer wall up at the front facade where you can see more behind it. And then we've added more landscaping into the front of that. So what's the step on moving forward on this one? Just. Okay, thank you.
Or the down arrow.
Okay. So on the landscape plan itself, an overall, we'll zoom in on the next slide and we'll look at the species that are there. But on the left-hand side, on the enclosure, we've populated as much as we can and still keep the vehicular traffic lanes open. On the right-hand side, we've done the same thing. We can't populate vegetation in front of the wing that's furthest to the right from the street view because that's actually part of the drive lane for the vehicular traffic, and then we still maintain that portal where that particular lane goes through. But we do step it back and we step it down as part of that process. Here, an enlargement of the species that we've put there, with the taller being closer to the building and getting down to a lower ground cover as we get tearing it down as we get to the asphalt. And then, of course, this being what was part of the original building submittal in the very beginning before any walls, and then the highlighted areas in red or pink area is the enclosure on the left with vegetation in front of it at the vacuum areas. And then on the right, there are 2 components to that. The first wing wall has a shed roof to it for part of the pedestrian portal approach to the building. And then that shed roof detail is the same shed roof detailing that is the lean-tos on the right-hand side of the building. So we're trying to use the components of the building itself for that entry point so that we don't complicate the design and have too many different details. Also, you can see on the right, we step down, and then that's your first drive lane for the first, there's 2 traffic lanes, one for the regular customer and then one for the membership customers. And in a view, you'll see the step down and the step back and the shed that works to the shed of the original building for the portal, and to vegetate in all areas that we can and still maintain the visibility of the portal, and then try to put as much vegetation based on height and amount of land we have available to get as tall a vegetation as we can on that left side in the area that we have available to do it. We've reduced the parking spaces for the vacuums were reduced. On this side, it's extremely tight, and we're down from approximately 28, which is a desirable, down to approximately 21, which is about the minimum that we can do and still support the vacuum, the car wash properly. And then from the other view, of course, on the left side. And then what that would look like as a straight approach.
We're glad to answer any questions, Mr. Chilton can or I can, but again, we heard what you said. We added the landscaping. We brought a functional building up on the left, so it's not just a blank wall. And then on the right, we, as he said, we did the step down and we added the shed roof to give some dimension, which was the concern last time. We're limited in how much landscaping we can put on that right-hand side because of drive aisles, but we still have added a significant amount of landscaping, and that's part of our landscape plan that we submitted. So we are glad to answer any questions, but I believe, based upon what we heard last time and reviewing the minutes and our notes, that we've addressed the concerns that the commission raised last time.
Great, thank you. Are there any members of the public here that would like to speak? Seeing none, any questions from the commission for the applicant?
I just had one. What's the height of the screen that screens that vacuum equipment?
It's at 8 feet.
Okay.
If the purchase of the equipment, there's different variations of that equipment, the vacuum producers. This one is most likely a 25 horsepower that only takes care of 9 stations because it likes to do one in a line, so you don't get pipes that go across lanes that you drive through. It starts getting busy. So since that's a smaller vacuum, it will be at about 7.5 feet tall, the vacuum, and then we would do an 8-foot high wall.
And if you added the actual, so the building itself, the screen wall, and then the 2 wing walls to the right, if you added all those together, do you meet the 50%
Yes.
building frontage? Okay, thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Hearing no additional questions, the commission will now close the hearing and bring the matter to the table. As a reminder, this commission is tasked with deciding if, based on the evidence presented, this proposal meets the applicable standards. This decision cannot be based on the personal preference of commission members. Rather, it is based on standards and evidence. If based on its deliberations, the commission requires additional evidence, the commission will reopen the hearing. Casey, can you pull up the applicable standards? Thank you. Okay, does anyone want to get us started? Thoughts? Discussion? Most of us were here last time. I will start with saying I definitely appreciate the adjustments that were made in response to feedback from last time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I appreciate the effort, listening to the comments that we gave you, and in my opinion, addressing everything that we asked you to take a look at. So, that landscape plan, since our landscape friends aren't here tonight, I double checked. So the height of those plantings that they have in front of that vacuum wall they get to like 6 feet tall. So they really will block that screen wall when they're mature. And I think all of the changes that were made definitely helped with the design, and the fact that even though they're not functional pieces of the building, those between the wing walls, the screen wall, and the building, they meet the intent of the 50%. I'm in favor of approving this.
Could I have something to say?
I'll agree with what Chris said, and I think that rendering really helped visualize that better too. The step back of that far right wall really articulated the mass of the building a bit more and broke the scale down, at least from the perspective of the street. I don't think it does anything to negatively impact the last 2 points here that we're looking at on the screen. Thank you for taking our comments into consideration and reworking that.
Anyone else?
Maybe a minority opinion, but I kind of wish the thing to the right was just a single kind of side piece. It's purely an aesthetic preference, but I think it would be more attractive that way. But I think it does address everything that's been requested of it, as is. So.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as requested.
Is there a second? Okay, I think, Bernard, since you came in late, you'll sit this one out, but I think we've got 8 voting members. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries.
Thank you very much.
All right, the commission's written decision will be adopted when the minutes of this meeting are adopted, and the written decision will be provided to the applicant and other parties with the right to such notice following adoption of the decision. I believe that wraps up our QJ agenda for the evening. So minutes? Yes, minutes. Yes. Would anyone like to make a motion or
Motion to
correction?
approve the minutes from the July 6th meeting.
Awesome. A second?
A second.
All right, Kyle seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Amazing. It's 4:48. I believe Casey. Casey, do you have some updates on Sir Walter?
Yeah, I did just want to briefly touch on that. We're working with our event planner and getting the caterer and the band lined up. So that's all moving forward. I did just want to, and I'll send out an email to the commission if you're, a reminder, if you want to seek sponsorships, please do so. We'll need to get that kind of going and wrapped up before too long so that our communications team can work on the design materials and whatnot. I did want to ask about like the format of the evening. So for the folks that were there last year involved, we had like music and then half of the presentation, then a sort of 15-minute intermission, the other half of the presentation, and then some music again afterwards. So I kind of wanted just some general feedback of if that sort of general format you guys want to do again, or if there's something completely different that you're interested in.
I think we had talked about this at a previous meeting and trying to condense the awards down to a single space in the meeting instead of having the break, or am I misremembering that?
I think you're right that we discussed it, but I think part of it was going to be dependent on how many final awards there ended up being. Because if I remember correctly, the thought was the break can be nice to like get another drink or more food if it's going to be longer, but if we can condense it, then that is probably preferable, just so that we don't lose people in the halfway. But
Yeah, I think last year the actual presentation portion, not counting like the before, after, and the break, was about 50 minutes to an hour long. So we did about 25 minutes break and then another like 20, 25 minutes. I'm anticipating being similar length. That's kind of what we're planning. And I don't know if I think I mentioned this before at our previous meeting that the working with staff in our historic preservation that work with the commission. So they'll also be coming to present the landmark plaques that were granted over the past year. So that'll be a small portion of the presentation, and they're planning to have some like visuals and things so they can do like a little photo op and whatnot to kind of celebrate that as well. It seemed like a natural tie-in with the work of the Appearance Commission. So that will be a small part of the presentation as well. But we're still working on keeping it within that like sort of less than an hour of actual presentation time. Because again, we don't want people to lose interest or whatever. So I think from the previous conversations, there was talk about, should we do the sort of intermission, should we not? And so I kind of there's pros and cons to each, right? So we don't have to like make a final decision. I'll keep working with the event planner. But for planning purposes, I just kind of wanted to get an idea of what directions you had. And I can work with the event planner to make sort of final decisions about that. But as we're getting like the vendors and everything lined up, trying to give them a little bit more firm timeline for everything. So I wanted to take this opportunity to get some feedback if you guys had like strong opinions or preferences one way or another.
I'm not hearing a super strong opinion at this point. Maybe Adam feels differently, but I'd say keep on course with the intermission, and once awards are determined, that hasn't been held yet, correct?
No, the jury's meeting next week.
So
to
once,
select the
once we
winners.
know how many awards, that might help paint that picture too.
Yeah, sure.
Do we know how many nominations we got in each category?
Yes, I don't remember all the numbers off the top of my head. I want to say we got around like 37 or 38 total nominations. One category we didn't get any, and then the rest we got like 2 to 7 or 8 range for all the other categories. So about the same number, I think, as last year.
Yeah, I think there was one category one or two where we tended to not get very many, and then
Yeah,
one
and
where
this year we got
bunch.
a bunch in that category.
Oh, good.
Like last year and it's a different category that we didn't get any, so it's kind of just the luck of the draw, I guess.
Any update on the graphic designer from last time that we met?
Yes, I reached out to her and she is on board, and the plan is to have the initial like 2 or 3 design proposals for you guys to review at the next meeting on August 17th.
Great.
You guys can look at them. If you have a preference, give her feedback so that she can move forward with the final design after that. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
I remembered Adam had sent an email right after the last one with just a couple suggestions, so I just forwarded that email to you again just to refresh. It was like size of the stage and some other logistics things that to think about.
That's not ringing a bell. But
It's in your
I can
inbox.
check my email, but if it's easy enough for you to forward it to me,
I just
I'd
did.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And he doesn't say anything about the break. Yeah, I could go either way on the break, I think. I think you lose people no matter what. I didn't recall how long the actual presentations took, but if you said that it was 50 minutes and then we're adding somebody on top of that, so it could be like an hour. It's
Yeah.
probably good to knock it all out at one time, but. And the email that you're sending out with the sponsorships, are you giving some guidance about kind of what you're looking for? And I can't remember if there's different levels of membership.
Yes.
or
Yeah, I can
sponsorship.
send the link. There's a web page that's linked to from the Sir Walter Raleigh page on the city website that has the information. But I can include that link in the email.
Okay.
So if any of you or you know of any folks that are interested in sponsoring, they can email me and we can work out the rest. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Great. Any questions for Casey on this or anything else?
Who's on the jury from our panel?
Kyle, Martha, Matt, and Jonathan.
Awesome.
There's 4, yeah.
Nice.
So we have 12 total jurors. Yeah. All right.
Okay, excellent. And then Adam sent out yesterday in the email, Martha put together a very quick questionnaire for everyone on thoughts and feelings on a different name other than Appearance Commission, synthesizing that memo that she sent previously on some research. So if you have a minute, maybe with some of the extra time that we've got, if you'll take that one question poll, we can revisit that next time we get together.
Casey, would you mind checking that I'm on the distribution list because I don't get any emails from Adam. I get them from you,
Okay.
but not Adam.
Good point, because
And-
we
and
don't
yes,
see who's
and
we don't
y-
see who's on the email.
Yeah, and yes, I check my spam and all that.
I know you get
Adam's
my
not a
emails
fan.
because we've emailed back and forth.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'll check with Adam and make sure. He might have the email wrong or something.
Okay, any other business? If not, thank you guys. We're adjourned.